Welcome to DBL. Happy Flag Day, everyone.
Oh my God, my godfather is a vexillologist.
What does that mean?
He's an expert in flags.
So this is a big day for him.
Big day for Jack. Okay, wake up, Val.
All right. Well, it is, listen, happy Flag Day, everybody. So we also got Dr. Coley joining us this morning. And thank goodness we have you here, Dr. Coley, because you're not a doctor. He does this every time. He whispers it so the audience has no idea what's really happening, but you're not a doctor. We are starting today with a concern that I think a lot of Americans have. I know for a fact our viewers have. Today is former President Trump's 78th birthday. He met with GOP leaders yesterday on Capitol Hill. It was his first trip back there since the January 6th attack. Meantime, 81-year-old President Biden is in Italy for the G7 conference. He met with the Pope today, along with other world leaders. He's also making headlines for appearing to wander off during a photo shoot. Yep, you see it right there. Okay, this was with other world leaders. He also appeared to freeze. Tori, you brought this up earlier, during this Juneteenth celebration this week at the White House. Now, in case
I think he was just off beat and he was trying to recalibrate. He was like 2 and 4.
Okay. In case you didn't know, I'm sure you all do know, Biden and Trump are the oldest major party presidential candidates ever. So this brings me to my question to Dr. Coley. Let's talk about the way our brains age. We've heard the concerns from a lot of constituents, both President Biden and former President Trump. What happens to the brain with somebody of both of their ages?
You know, it's interesting. Our brain wasn't designed to live this long. We've actually outlived what the design of the brain was. So as we age, we get cognitive decline. And if you scan people's brains, you'll see the brains actually shrink, especially the areas of the brain involved in memory, in problem solving, and in sort of executive function planning and thinking and such. The brain has less blood flow as we get older. There's parts of inflammation in the brain, and the way that parts of the brain communicate with each other also move slower. So putting that all together, it means we're a lot slower at cognitive tasks. Doesn't mean we can't do them. It just means it takes us longer than it took us when we were younger, and we're not as good at problem solving or is it paying attention to items.
Well, when would the leader of the free world need to problem solve? You know, so I think it's kind of a wasted segment.
Which kind of brings me to my question. So, despite your parties, which is very hard for people to do, both these guys are getting up there and, like Al said, to run a country, right? I'm sure you could do other things, but to run a country, should we be concerned?
I think we should be. And I think the reason we're concerned is because we don't know. We don't know if their brains are aging in the normal fashion or their brains are aging, developing dementia or at least signs of cognitive dysfunction. Everybody looks different when they age and the symptoms they have, the way that they present. So the way that we would know is we test. And why do we not test publicly? Why do we not put it out there what their cognitive capacity is? Because again, in their role, they actually do need to have a lot of problem solving. Now, there is a subset of people as they get older called cognitive super-agers. I hope I am one. I don't think I will be, but I hope I am. But these people don't age as quickly as others. So their brains are 20 to 30 years younger than their biological age. We're still trying to figure out who these people are, what they do differently. It's hard to know whether our presidential candidates are in this category or not, but we have to test to keep our eyes open and know what we're dealing with.
Maybe Al thinks he's one. I can see it in your face.
I know,
I saw
for sure.
You're a super ager?
I have the brain of a 22-year-old.
Oh,
I do.
Okay. All right.
All right. Liar.
Look it up.
All right. Speaking of brain health with this one, no, I'm kidding. There's a new test that promises to predict dementia up to 9 years before it happens, the diagnosis. First of all, talk to me about this, but also, Dr. Coley, would you want to have that test? Like, ethically, bioethically? I don't know. I'd want to live knowing, well, this is it.
No, I absolutely would, Tori, and I don't want you to take this victim mentality to this because this is not it. This tells me the problem before it happens so I can do something about it. And so this test is really exciting. Actually, it's gotten a lot of attention in the medical community because the idea here is we do a 10-minute brain scan. We look at the blood flow in different parts of your brain, how they're communicating, and it can predict with an 80% accuracy, and AI helped us develop this algorithm, whether or not you're going to go on to have dementia. So now we potentially can design treatments and targets, combine that with blood testing. It's like what we do in heart disease, right? We used to wait for a heart attack and then decide to treat you. Now we know people are going to get heart disease as they get older, so we scan their hearts, look for plaque deposits, and start treating them so that they never have that heart attack.
Okay.
Well, let's say, you know, they start to find those plaques. The FDA just approved this week a new drug for Alzheimer's, so is that a good thing? Can we say we cured it today?
So
right
the
now?
FDA is looking to approve this drug, and it would be our second drug. And to me, this is a huge, huge advancement because for decades we've had nothing for Alzheimer's. But having said that, I do have mixed feelings about this drug because it follows that reactive approach rather than proactive. So basically, Alzheimer's is a condition where you get these plaque deposits in your brain. The drug goes and binds the plaque, kind of labels the plaque, so that our immune system can identify it, go in there, and clear it out. So you have to have the structural changes in order to really get the drugs. You already have to start having manifestations of the disease. And if your immune system is going to war in your brain, you can get brain swelling, brain bleeding, a lot of side effects. And really what it's doing is slowing the disease by about 7 months. So it's not a cure. It's not turning around the course of the disease. So I think we need to be a little smarter, go more upstream, find it earlier before the symptoms happen, by looking, by scanning, by blood testing, and then we can hopefully make a real impact.
Interesting. Because we have you and you are an expert when it comes to heart medicine, there's a new study. This is shocking. 90% of U.S. adults have a major heart disease syndrome. Right now, like 90% of us are living with this?
90% of us have stage 1 CKM, cardiovascular kidney metabolic syndrome. Now, if I told you guys 90% of you had stage 1 cancer, people understand what that means. They would be jumping up and down. But 90% of America has stage 1 CKM. We don't know it. We don't acknowledge it, knowing statistically heart disease is most likely to
So
kill
what do
us.
we do?
So I think we know our numbers and we know our risks. So we can go from stage 1 to stage 0. And that's where it's unlike cancer. You're not stuck in that stage. You can reverse the course of the disease. So knowing that, 4 out of 5 of us sitting up here have this, we go get our cholesterol checked, our blood sugar, get our, weight, look at how much fat we have on our visceral fat and adiposity, looking at all of that and figure out a way to reverse it.
You also spoke about a calcium score, and
Yes.
so few people know this, and it's a really good predictor. Can you just really quickly, if we have time?
Yeah.
It's so important.
After the age of 40, and that's most of us up here, X-ray of the heart takes 5 minutes, and it
Yeah.
tells me if you already have put down plaque. If you already have heart disease,
huge.
that in 20 years is going to manifest with a heart attack. So I encourage every single person to do it. Really helps me as a cardiologist to make decisions.
But if you have the brain of a 20-year-old,
Okay,
yeah,
really
yeah,
quickly, because you
yeah.
claim that you're a doctor, adiposity, what does it mean?
it means fat, the fat accumulated on your
Look
body.
at Dr. Jackson.
Wow.
Wow, he
that
is a
was
doctor.
Good.
Dang.
Good.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Coley. We appreciate you. DBL Nation.
I know one word.
Follow Dr. Coley on social media. I think you deduced it based on
Yeah.
other context, but
Adipose
that's okay.
cells, they're fat cells.
Okay.
And you looked at me when you said
Follow
it.
Dr. Coley at Kyle Coley, MD. Also, be sure to subscribe to her YouTube page. Plus, check out her podcast, Heart of Medicine, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you again, Doc. We appreciate you. Coming up on DBL is